Hi guys, welcome to the second episode of Score Couch. My name is Olaf, I'm one of the co-founders and head of customer success here at Score, and I'm here today with Paweł.
Hey, good morning. I'm Paweł, I'm head of technology here at Score, one of co-founders. It's really good to be here again.
Awesome. So today we decided to talk a little bit about failures, problems, everything that can go wrong within a software development project, which this is, some of our observations show that it happens maybe not pretty often, but it is out there. So today we would like to cover the topic of, failures in the software projects. So I was wondering, Paweł, how the software project can fail? Like, what can happen in a software project?
Everything can happen. So there are, I've seen a lot, unfortunately. So one thing, what can potentially happen, and this happens quite a lot, is problems when you are on production and actually starting having certain traffic. And it turns out that the architecture and everything which the DevOps team prepared is not working properly. So there are some delays, the response times are really big, and the customer suffers out of this. So this is one thing. Another one is that the project was not finished at all because budget finished. So the estimation was incorrect. Another thing which can happen is the user experience, which was built, is totally insufficient, and the customers doesn't know how to use the platform. So at the end, in your sales results, you see that the user stops using application at a certain point, and you don't know why, right? So, for example, there are many more, but I would say that those three are the biggest ones.
Okay, so we can say that it could be an issue with an architecture. So the choice was wrong when it was analyzed in the first place, or?
Sometimes it was a choice, and sometimes during the development team was not following the patterns and the decisions, because it's pretty often that the development team is not the same from the very beginning to the end of the project, but new people come, and if the project is not properly driven and the code is not reviewed properly. So each developer is writing in his own style,
okay.
And at the end you don't know what's under the hood. Plus, if you are lacking documentation, no one knows what's going on. And the surprises are on production, where in certain places you have not working feature and you don't know why.
Okay, so you've told us a little about what can happen, and why do you think this happens? Like, why do you think, you have, issues with architecture? Why do you think there is, wrong tech stack chosen? Or why the user experience of a certain digital product is not tailored to those users?
Mm-hmm.
Is there a set of reasons? Is there a most popular reason? What are the reasons, in your opinion?
Yeah, so pretty often the projects are underestimated in terms of complexity. So you are creating a team which is experienced with short-term projects, like I would say 2, 3, 4 months, right? And you are putting such a team on a project without a person who has an experience in driving the project with a huge traffic. So the team doesn't know what can happen, what kind of issues they are going to face in the future, because they are focused on current features, just to implement what they have in Jira dashboard, basically, right? But they are not thinking about what if 1,000 customers will try to generate, a PDF at the same time. What will happen, right? And if you don't have proper structure, so let's say that you have one module, like a microservice, let's say, and it does everything. And when those users are trying to generate this PDF, login stops working, for example, because you have everything in one place.
Okay.
So those are the things which you think about after you have an experience. So you have to be there, see it, to oversee this in the next project. And when you have an unexperienced team, you will face it on production, unfortunately, right? Pretty often, customers underestimating the value of user experience person in the project. They think that because his friend likes it and he likes it, it will be fine. They are not doing proper testing on users. So give this a concept, MVP, like wherever, to 10 people, 20 people, and gather the feedback. Ask them to do certain action in the platform and see if they are able to do it. Because it may turn out that no one knows how to use it, right? And you will spend a lot of money to finish it. And after that, the customers will tell you that it's not working at all. And this generates like really big costs. Yeah.
Two things come to my mind when you are saying that. The first one is that it seems that a lot of that, or like most of the stuff that you were talking about, comes down to planning, right? So and sometimes, and I'm speaking from my experience with some of the customers, like convincing someone to invest in a planning phase to get this really good and diligent process, introduced at the very beginning in order to, talk about architecture, talk about expectations, discuss the user personas, maybe run some tests, with some users, maybe try to create the profile of this perfect user, or maybe with the user that they already know, because that's sometimes also the case, right?
Yeah.
And they tend to, avoid that phase. So this, workshop phase 0 is often overlooked by customers.
Yeah.
And another thing that comes to my mind when you mentioned, all of those topics is that, people do not put enough attention to the capabilities and the skill set of the people they are talking to. And this is astonishing, because I've seen multiple situations in which someone, was in panic because they've spent half of their budget and nothing was delivered, right? So that these situations are definitely, something that can be avoided. So the question why people don't want to do that is it lack of knowledge, do you think?
I think my opinion is that at least this is what I feel while working with the customers. When you are starting a development, you pretty fast have some deliverables. So you have an app. The coder is pushing the code, you have an app, you can click on it, and there's something already. So you feel that the value for money is pretty good here, because the team already started, and you are not spending money here and there. And when you are doing an analysis phase, the customer is paying for us sitting and talking, right?
Yeah.
Analyzing stuff, conceptualizing, writing some requirements, creating Jira backlog. They doesn't feel like this is something they can do, right? This is their idea about it, but they pretty often doesn't see the value that when the technical team and like with strong business acumen starts talking about this idea, maybe they will help him to see some things he didn't think of, right? And to find totally different solutions for the problem the customer is trying to solve. Right? Pretty often we have a customer who already knows how to solve the problem, but he's struggling with explaining the problem itself. Yeah. And this is pretty often. So when we understand when the team understands what they are going to solve and build, there is one really big value there, that the coder, the programmer who will be doing this at the end, right? He has in the back of his head that what we are doing, and while implementing something, he may notice that there is a dependency somewhere. But if he doesn't have the clear picture, like the whole image of it, he will just perform a certain task, do it, and we will know about this dependency 2 sprints later. And it will be bigger cost. But those are the things you are not able to see from the very beginning. But in every project, we see that if we didn't spend enough time thinking about the problem, it comes back and bites.
Yeah. So I think you've touched on a very important aspect, which is dependencies, right? So it's all connected, but people tend to overlook the fact that when you cannot just take few people and tell them, yeah, I need this, do it, right? Because there are so many aspects, not in every project, but often there are so many aspects that you need to think about from an architecture perspective, like you've mentioned, user experience, and the front end, back end, you have a lot of those things in play that need to work well together. And when it's not properly described, I think the development team may struggle because they are just doing their own job, but they don't have, like you said, the bigger picture in their head.
Yes. Plus, you need a technical person who will connect all of those dots together. You have to have at least one person technical who have the whole picture in his head, because you can implement certain functionalities on the back end or on the front end or using some third party, and someone who knows the consequences of all of that should have an understanding, the business understanding why we are doing something. So he may do the proper choices and the cost analysis, right? This is another thing which pretty often the people are not putting proper pressure on this cost analysis, and they are just implementing third-party libraries here and there. And it's okay while you are developing stuff and you have 100 users, but sometimes it scales extra potentially, that when you have 10K of users, the costs are going really high. Like, for example, Google Firebase, which is pretty awesome. You can kick off application serverless, and it's really, really awesome. But if you do the architecture the wrong way and you are reading and writing all the time, you may spend 30K in less than 72 hours. There are many articles about it. Okay. Yeah.
Cool. And if you can, explain a bit more, let's say that I have no idea. So like, to use a third-party library within a project, what does it mean?
What does it mean?
Yeah, so like.
Okay, so when you are delivering a project to a customer, you pretty often do not do everything by a custom code, because it doesn't make any sense. If there is a tool which can do, for example, login for you and registration, and it handles the token management which is under the hood, you are not implementing this every time. Like, it's a really big waste. So you are using certain solution and putting this into the project. You want certain metrics in the product, so you want to know how users are using the application. You are using third-party library and using the code from this library in a certain places of your application, and you are gathering the data in some third-party tool, right? For example, you want to have charts in your app. You are not writing them from scratch, like the circle bars or wherever. You are using the library, which is already on the market, right? And the library is doing this much better than probably you can implement it. Or a payment mechanism, right? This is something you don't want to do, because then you are a financial institution, right? You are using something. So those are the examples where, those are blocks which you are putting into your app with your custom code, right?
But this might be dangerous due to the fact that if you do it the wrong way, you can pay a lot more than in a case that you would do it by yourself.
Yes.
Is that the case?
Because payment providers are taking their margin on each transaction. Okay. So you have to every time when you are using external tool, you have to check the pricing model. How they are charging, based on what? Based on time, based on resources like CPU, database size, or things like that, or for example number of requests, or the amount of a transaction, for example, like this payment mechanism. So you need an Excel, and it's good when before the development you will create a simulation of the traffic in your application. So a typical user going into your app, into the dashboard, for example, will do a request for 10 articles. And it means that you have to ask one database about it, S3 Amazon for image, and a couple of different things, right? What kind of traffic it generates and what is the cost of a single user using your app for 20 minutes. Multiplied by 10,000 users within a month, and you will see more or less where are you in terms of the costs, right?
Okay. So the bills can get heavy if not, if those libraries are not used properly.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go back to to those failures. Like this is, I think, another potential threat that someone may encounter. So like wrong implementation of third parties, right? Of third-party libraries. But I'm wondering, why do you think what I'm trying to say is that I know that communication is a pretty big aspect. Why do you think that communication in software projects, and I've seen this many times throughout the years, is not good enough, or often is overlooked, or is not a huge part of it?
It's a good question. Really good one. One thing is that people are not always proactive in their work, and I've seen it and I'm also a technical person, right? I was coding for many years, and when you're coming to work, you have your Jira backlog, you have your tasks, your dashboard, right? You are making a coffee, you are checking Facebook, and starting working. You have a description of a task, and the description is pretty clear. Maybe there are some things like you are not pretty sure, but you think it makes sense.
Yeah, and you assume something.
You are assuming that this should work this way, and you are doing the task, right? And let's assume that the person who is doing the code review also doesn't have this understanding. He's reading the task, and probably this is it, and it's merged, right? The next person the feature is hitting is quality assurance, probably. And it depends what kind of understanding the quality assurance person has, right? Let's say that he has the same understanding, and the feature passes all of the tests and goes to product owner or a customer, right? And then there is a situation where expectations of the customer were different, right? It's pretty often, and it's pretty easy, right? So what happened here? Is why the description was not clear enough, and why the person didn't ask about it, right? And I don't have a clear answer for it. Maybe it's a laziness, maybe it's a lack of proactivity in person, maybe it's the fact that, I don't know if majority, but probably a big part of engineers are introverts, and they are not just this kind of person who wants to understand everything, maybe. But what I think is really important is that the person who is creating the requirements should make sure that, it's like with a law. It has to be written in a way that there is no other way to interpret it, right? Yeah.
So the description should be as accurate, so there won't be any wrong assumptions done by a person and that is executing the task.
The person who is doing the description should think how this can be interpreted in terms of other features in the platform and write it really correctly. So, but it's a ideal word, and it doesn't work.
Happen.
No.
Okay. How about communication on a line with customer and a vendor? Because I've been in I've worked in multiple companies before we founded Score, and I've seen many projects, different dynamics, different parts of the world, different cultures. I think these all play some kind of role, right? If there are cultural differences, if there are not, and so on. But what I've heard, maybe not a lot of times, but at least on a couple of occasions, is the gray box, black box, and transparent box. So you can either be fully aware of what is happening with my money. I'm trying to say it as a customer, or you can be aware to some extent what is going on out there, or you can be fully cut off of the information. Do you think that there is a a perfect solution, that there is a golden rule that you should follow as a vendor in your cooperation with a customer?
Mm-hmm. There is no golden, of course.
But there are best practices.
There are some practices which can prevent certain situations. There are different kinds of customers, and the customers have different experiences with vendors. Some of them have no experience at all. Some of them has a bad experience and lack of trust, right? And some are like having some experience, but they know which things to check. And as an example, we have a customer who doesn't have any technical background and any technical, I would say, like friends who can assess if what we are doing is correct, right? But the customer really wants to be a part of the team and want to know what's going on. So we are aware that this customer wants to feel what's going on in the platform. So maybe the customer is not on a daily stand-ups, right? But 2-3 times a week, we have a demo presenting what's going on a development environment. So it's before the tests. The customer sees what's the progress, and we are also helping the customer with the business decisions. So it's easier to judge when you're looking at something, is it correct or no? So the customer is almost a part of a development team, right? We have customers who have a technical person from their end, like a CTO of the product, and the CTO is checking us if everything we do is done properly, if the processes are in place.
So that's a different dynamic, yeah?
It's a different dynamic, yes. It's a different pressure. And yeah, you can tell that from the development team, when there is someone technical from outside, it's different. And there are, as I said, there are customers who also have like some bad experiences from the past, and we see it, and we are trying to calm them down in the places like in the fragile places. We are like, okay, we know that it's important for you, so let's do this way. We are going to send extra reports. We are going to give you a demo more often. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. You can send for a couple of first sprints a code to some other company for a review. It's not a problem for us, and you have to build the trust. You know, we had a situation where the customer had really bad experience, and after a couple of sprints, a couple of months, he started to trust us that what we are saying, we were delivering. Of course, there are always problems, yeah, but we were informing him. Okay, we will have slightly delay here, like 3-4 days because of this. And he said, okay, I understand, but the thing that we are, explaining why it's happening makes him trust us. Yeah. So this is something you build with customers. It's pretty rare that from the very beginning someone trusts you. Like those guys are for sure going to do a good job.
The right address, yeah. I think what you said is spot on, because there are this is essential. This is typical for custom software development. It's not only you build a custom software for someone. You mm-hmm. build a custom experience, yeah. Custom relationship, custom integrations. Everything is tailored. I don't know if I've had like 2 same situations in conversations with people. There are patterns that mm-hmm. occur, right? There are types of customers, there are types of situations, types of businesses, right? But it's always different. And I think being, able to adjust to the circumstances and to people also on a communication level is really important.
Mm-hmm. I would say so.
Okay, so we have some problems. We've talked about failures, about things that can go wrong. What do you think can be done to prevent? How can you prevent a project from failure?
If we are talking about making a product from the very beginning, from the scratch, mm-hmm. then it's easier, right? Because we are in charge of choosing the technology, choosing everything basically, do the proper planning and so on and so on. So what prevents a project from failing? good cost analysis, the thing which we were discussing previously, right? Good business analysis, so the clear requirements, the proper understanding of the timelines of the project, because there are dependencies. You know, it's not a hermetic box, the development team, because you have a marketing agency, you have some dependencies, right? And some people got paid and they are waiting for the product to be on the market, right? So you have to be aware of all of those facts, right? You have to have a proper technical workshop and a plan of the architecture. What kind of pieces do we need to deliver, and what kind of traffic are we expecting to have, and do we really need to use all of that for the MVP? But maybe it's better to deliver it faster, to handle lower traffic, right? But to check the business idea on the market. So those are the questions which we answer during the workshop, basically. So I think this is important to do on the beginning, and to set up proper processes. So how are you going to work, and who is taking care of that the quality level will not decrease during the development? Because what is pretty often seen when you are delivering an MVP, okay, do it fast, check the idea, and later we will see. And
yeah.
Right?
Yeah, as soon as possible.
Yes, after 5 months you deliver the MVP. Okay, guys, we have new budget. Let's go crazy right now. Yeah, and there is no moment of, okay, guys, we have to refactor many places because we are speeding up, right? And we have no tests. So regression, this is something what kills a lot of projects. So you are touching a feature, and you don't know that this feature is connected with something else in the platform. You are changing it,
and boom.
And yeah, you have manual tester who checked it, but he didn't check different configuration. That if you change something in a platform, there is a new option appears somewhere, and this option is broken right now. And boom, as you said. So tests, yeah. So you have to have quality engineer set up at least those crucial paths in the platform. So before you push to production, you know that at least those paths, the user is able to log in and create a basic business object in the platform, right? Those are the things which can prevent a project from failing. Like those are like really basic ones.
Yeah, and how about the situation which we've encountered already a couple of times, in which we are taking over something that is already half done, partially done, when there are limited capabilities, capacities, you cannot do everything. Is there a framework or a strategy you can have to build a plan to rescue, a rescue plan?
Yeah, I think the framework is a big word. Yeah, but we have a certain schema which we have when dealing with this kind of problems. Yeah, so of course we had many situations where we were rescuing the project because the customer he noticed that something's not working as it should, and there are different things which triggers the customer. Sometimes it's a delay in delivery, and so, for example, the estimation for the project was 5 months, and after 4 months, he sees that there are many things not done, basic functions are not working, so click.
Budget is always burned.
Budget is always almost burned. Sometimes the features are delivered, but they are not handling the basic traffic. 10 users using the platform, and you have 500 from the server. Sometimes
what does it mean 500 from a server?
That the server is not responding, is
okay.
Dead, so
okay.
Goodbye.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah. Okay, where were we? Yeah. So when the customer comes to us, we first want to him explain us what he's building. Okay, so tell me what is this platform about? Is it similar to anything else on the market, right? And what are your deadlines, what were your assumptions in terms of the product. We want to know the basic plan he had with the current or the previous development team, right? So we want to understand that first. The second thing is that we want him to provide us all of the documentation he has, all of the technical stuff created during the development, to provide us the source codes for all of the platforms, like everything what he has. If he has a contact person from third-party vendor, because it's pretty often that if you are using third-party library and they are charging you a lot of money, there is a dedicated person with whom you can speak. So we want also those contacts, so to talk about the person, about his understanding of the platform, yeah, and access to Jira or Asana or wherever the tracking system the customer has. So all of the designs, like basically everything, even sometimes pictures of a sheet of papers, yeah, with the drawings. we had this as well. Then when we have all of this, we are making a technical assessment. Where are we? So the customer thinks that certain things are built, right? And we are checking
if that's the case.
If that's the case, yeah. So we have a pretty long lists, and we are checking if under the hood these lists load all of the elements at once, or we have pages. We do this incrementally. If the platform is about, I don't know, searching for, let's say, restaurants. So this is the basic thing which users do. Mm-hmm. And so we are checking if there are any indexes. Index is something which speeds up search in the platform. Is there an indexing mechanism like Elasticsearch, or there is none? So this is, after that, we are providing to customer, okay, here are the risks. If, for example, this is some fintech application, we check if how they keep the data in a database, because there are many problems with calculations, multiplying numbers, dividing. There is 5 places after the dot. Instead of 0, you have 1, and when you are multiplying it, you have different number at the end, right? Mm-hmm. So we are detecting all of the places and communicating this to the customer. So after this technical assessment, we are checking what is actually done versus what was the expectation. So from
realities, harsh realities.
Yes. So we have the business knowledge and we have the technical knowledge, and now we are checking is it really done. So because previously we checked the progress of Jira tasks and what is done, what is not. Yeah, the epics, stories, everything. We are taking. We are starting taking a couple of basic features, and our quality team is checking, is it really implemented? If there are any requirements, how this feature should work, we try to follow this path and see, does it work? If it works, we are trying to run it on different browser or different operating system. Mm-hmm, if it comes to the mobile. We have some device farms, and we are trying to run it on a older device and see what happens. Yeah. And unfortunately, in our history, in 100% of cases, something was not done, and the customer thought that it's done. Mm-hmm. So he thought that it's 70% of progress in a project.
And it turns out to be 7%.
30, 20 sometimes. Because it's hard. If you are not a technical person, it's pretty hard to detect it, because you can create a screen with some mock data, and under the hood there is no logic at all. Yeah, and this is pretty painful when it turns out some customers doesn't believe. So we are showing them the Git code responsible for certain screen, and there are a couple of lines of code there doing nothing. And yeah, so after that we are updating the Jira, updating all of the documents to the actual state, because So if the features were made like to the right, we are moving them to the left, to the backlog. We are based on the first step, like the analysis, our understanding of the platform. Sometimes we are changing the features because they didn't make sense. So once we have all of that, like a new backlog sometimes prepared, we are planning, okay, so what to do with this now, So based on our understanding of the first step and all of the dates from the customer, we are prioritizing the backlog. Again, we are choosing the things which are really crucial. Sometimes the customer is saying, okay, I don't need chat right now. I know that the team already started, but the basic functionality is not working. So we are postponing chat, as an example, and we focus on 5 features. We want to deliver this in 2 months. And sometimes we are also saying, but guys, we have to speed the platform up, and there are also security issues with the platform. So do you want to do it? We strongly recommend it, and we are making a decision together that yes, this is the minimum of the quality this platform should have. And we are planning the team, proper team to it, and kicking this off. So like this is in short. In a pill.
Sometimes it takes time, right? Okay, so thank you for that. That was very helpful, I think, and it seems that we've been able to cover today like most common issues or problems that can cause projects to fail. We've managed to discuss some of the best practices that you can have when approaching certain topics like communication, like project management stuff, planning and so on. And it seems that also we've managed to cover the best practices when there is a fire and you need to put out the fire, right? Okay, so do you have any last piece of advice or anything that you can share as a general thought? Whatever you think might be a good piece of advice for anyone out there.
I love this kind of questions, like totally out of
out of the context.
Yeah. To be honest, if I try to put myself in the shoes of a person who doesn't understand fully the technical stuff, I would say that if you are starting a cooperation with a new vendor, like a new company, on the very, very beginning, and you have no experience at all, try to ask anyone who knows something about it from time to time to just check what the team is doing. How does it look like? Just to have someone to compare it to something different, like at least on the very beginning.
To do a double check.
Yes. Just to check it. If you have some technical friend or a previous vendor from a couple of years ago, call them, ask them if they can take a look after first sprint at the first commits. How the structure of the project look like, what they are going to use, who is going to lead the project. Like ask those questions, and even how your vendor is going to respond. If they are going to respond like with
very
openly and with a confidence what they are doing, or they will start to thinking about the answers, how this should be. You can catch it, right? Yeah. I think this is my piece of advice for. And after a couple of sprints, if the team is delivering and you see that the work is moving on, of course you will gain trust, and but everything will turn out after first release.
That's true. When the first results kick in, actually, that's the moment when you can assess. But I think that's a very helpful, advice to at least try to do a little checkup from time to time, especially at the very beginning. To feel the pulse. Even maybe we shouldn't say that because we are also a vendor, right? But this limited trust, I think it's good. Especially at the beginning. With all of my business relationships, I do it like that, Not only with IT, basically in life, limited. Exactly. This is how you should do it, and you should apply. That's a very helpful. Okay, cool. So that was a pretty awesome discussion today.
Good talk.
Yeah. So guys, if you feel like you are running into some issues in any of your projects, or you have a friend that runs into some issues, feel free to drop us an email. We will be more than happy to help analyze,
Of course,
and provide a piece of advice. We hope that today was pretty helpful. That this talk was pretty helpful to you. Please don't hesitate to hit subscribe, leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. We are more than happy to improve. Thanks, Paweł.
And tell us if you want more, right? Because
exactly.
we can talk and talk.
Exactly, that's a very important one. Thanks, Paweł.
Thank you, Olaf.
Guys. See you soon.
See ya.